So this isn't the video I had planned for today, but it's sort of a consequence of me editing the video I was trying to make for today. And we'll start by saying the Z6III is back from being repaired by Nikon. They replaced the EVF. It was broken, so I was very glad to get it back, and I immediately took it out and tried shooting a video on it yesterday, because that's partially why I got this camera. The Z9 is too bulky to take out for a day out of photography that isn't wildlife. You can't really fit it in a messenger bag, for example. So I wanted a smaller Nikon camera, but I also wanted it to potentially replace my Panasonic S5 IIX, because maintaining two systems of lenses is kind of a pain in the arse. I thought this would be perfect, but I bumped into a problem with its video footage. Now, this isn't part of just using a new camera for the first time, because I had those problems too, like the autofocus being set wrong, all those sorts of things. This is a problem with the dynamic range of this camera. It is fine in photos. I've not really encountered any problems with that, but in video, particularly when you're shooting a different profile. So if you use the built-in video profiles, if you just do the colors in camera, it performs okay, presumably because it's doing noise reduction inside the camera body. But if you shoot in log or in hybrid log gamma, you will bump into this issue quite quickly. On a very sunny day in particular, which is what it was yesterday, it performed really badly. And this was exacerbated somewhat by the Nikon metering system, which is still wild to me. But the problem here is in the shadows. Forget about blown highlights, things like that. It has a noise issue in the shadows, and it's not just the noise, it's that it's flickering. And you can see it in this clip. So this clip is quite a wide dynamic range scene. You've got the shadowed hedge around the outside, and then you've got the bright center to the picture, and then you've got the shadows on my back, things like that. It's quite noisy. But even worse than that is you can see a slight flicker happening in the shadows. I've not experienced this on any other cameras. So my Nikon Z9 is noisier than the Panasonic S5 IIX when recording video, but it doesn't do this weird flickering, and it's quite hard to see exactly what's going on. It's more obvious as well if you raise the shadows, I think. It starts to show more noise, but the flickering is visible even normally. But I wasn't sure if this was because I recorded this scene at 50 frames a second, or if it could be something else. So I've tried to recreate this sort of situation of this sort of wide dynamic range today, just in my garden. And here's a comparison between the Panasonic S5 IIX, the Nikon Z9, and the Nikon Z6III. In this first set of clips, there's a notable difference between the Panasonic's final image quality and the Nikon cameras. The Panasonic is significantly cleaner. I don't know if it's got any built-in noise reduction or if it's just the sensor's sensitivity to low light, but it just looks notably better. On the Z9 it's noisy, and on the Z6III it's noisier again, but it's not too bad in this scene. This was log footage, and this has then had the Nikon, well, all the manufacturer's base LUTs put on it. If you then go to this next scene, this was filmed using the hybrid log gamma profiles in each camera. So this is straight out of the camera footage. All of these were exposed exactly the same. It was all on a tripod. They had the same settings, as much as can be matched up across the cameras. And this isn't anything tied to the recording format or the profiles or anything on the Z6III. It happens across all of them that I've tested. If you're doing NRAW, if you're doing ProRes, if you're doing H.265, it happens in all of them, and it's not very good. In fact, it's so problematic that I don't think I can use this for video. So do I keep it? Probably not, and that is frustrating, because as a photography camera, it's very enjoyable, and it's more enjoyable than the Panasonic S5 IIX, I would say. Not least because I then have access to my Nikon lenses, which I like using. So it is frustrating. I was hoping that this would be sort of an all-in-one camera, but the video quality drop-off from the S5 IIX to this is significant. And it's annoying because I like making videos, and unfortunately it's something that I want to look good, even though these aren't the most amazing videos in the world. I still have a certain level of quality that I want to attain, and the Panasonic has performed really well in that regard and continues to perform really well in that regard, and it's been a very, very reliable camera for me. So yeah, kind of frustrating. There are some other people who started talking about this a little bit. I'm going to put a link to Josh Satin. He has done a test of this dynamic range sort of issue, noting that the noise on the Z6III in the shadows is particularly green. In my experience, it alternates between green and magenta, which is very odd, as in there's a alternate green and magenta color cast and it swaps between the two. In his clips, they are universally very green, so I don't know. It's just inconsistent, basically. Very frustrating. If you have a Z6III and you're experiencing this yourself, please do put some comments down below. I would be curious to know what's going on and whether this is something that potentially Nikon could improve upon. I don't know. The Z9 has always rendered quite noisy video in my opinion, but it's not the end of the world, and it can often kind of look like film grain in a certain way, so I didn't really mind that so much. But this is much harder to fix, and it's quite frustrating, particularly tied with the crazy metering of the Nikon cameras as it currently stands. Thanks for watching. See you next time.